I'll get right up close and say hello to y'all. What's going on? What's going on, sweet tea? Good to see you. Joyous Ed. Good afternoon. It is Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Yeah, it's a 4-day weekend for the kids. Fantastic. Man. I've been having fun going through comments and responding to some of them in that sense. There's some pretty interesting statements. It's amazing to me how many people want to believe that a polygraph examination is the only thing and it's a standalone detector whether or not somebody's lying or telling the truth, when it's not that at all. Even though it gets described to people over and over again that it's just part of procedure, it's part of a greater set of tools, including statement analysis, to further probe into or identify areas of sensitivity. And even though the police officer said, based upon the polygraphs, she doesn't believe, due to the outcome of the polygraph, that any crime has occurred based on that polygraph examination alone. Has nothing to do with the case at all. But it's not everybody's fault. They've been conditioned to think this way. They assume, right? People make that mistake over and over and over again, and it's worth mentioning. It's interesting that Daniel wants to push the narrative about how this polygraph examination has completely cleared them and therefore they're innocent of all things, when it's not even relevant, or nor does he have any context into the reasons why he feels the way that he does. It's more about the need to get in front of the camera and tell you that he doesn't believe he's a suspect, for example. They have Daniel Martell exactly where they want him. The guy isn't going to fess up, own up. He's giving an admission. He's giving all kinds of important intel and information, even in the deception, even in the lies and the omissions. We're talking about a tweaker here who tripped out, probably brought harm towards the kids, his own hand, and he knew what he did right away, immediately started getting rid of the bodies off the property. And I can't believe, I refuse to believe this Daniel Turkey is that stupid. He placates to Daniel. I see people talk about it in different chats and things like that. Don't let it bother you. Don't let it bother you. Recognize it for what it is. The more information this uncooperative suspect is coming forth with and volunteering is important at this point in time, even though it's hard to listen to. Everybody has a right to be up in their feelings, but as long as you keep righted, you'll be okay. You got to work through the lows here. What's going on, Brian? I should switch over screens and say hello to everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's late here. Happy Thanksgiving weekend, my friends. I'm just chilling back here with a Monster Energy drink, getting all buzzed out. I'm getting tweaked out on this Monster Energy drink, bro. Whoops. Wrong button. Wrong button. You got mad last night in there? Damn. Oh, I mean, it's all fun to troll an audience, you know, and play into a character in that sense. I'm not telling you what he is and what he's not doing. We've been through this time and time again over the past, you know, how many years. You see it. I just have to remind you not to believe everything that you hear. And that's very important when it comes to Daniel. Wherever you are, the dude, leaving a comment under. Listen, if you're going to, I don't know what his intention are. People are getting really lazy in their troll comments. But he's like, it seems that, what was that under? Maybe I should go read it. Explain yourself. Explain yourself, the dude. What the heck did you mean with that comment? Talking about how, because of the cadaver dog search, essentially is insinuating that they didn't find any decomp, for example. That's all of a sudden equates to Daniel being innocent or somehow me being wrong about something in that sense. I always am here to remind you about the reality of the situation. And it's you who are misinterpreting what it is the RCMP are claiming, what they're saying at any one time, because people are naturally ignorant and subscribe to groupthink, and that's absolutely in effect in a place like YouTube. But he was sarcastically bringing up in my comment about, I'm just going from memory, something about it's a miracle how Daniel could have just cleaned up the crime scene. And he turns around and he wants me to explain how he did that. My initial response to him was, that place is a fucking shithole and it hasn't been cleaned up at all. So what it's really coming down to is an individual misinterpreting the information that's out there in that sense, right? It doesn't make any sense, and it's really anticlimactic, but it's the type of nonsense comments that you know, people leave and you wonder, do they really think that? Like, how is it the dumbest motherfucker feels the obligation to comment in such ways under videos that are completely missing the point? I mean, it's these people, and you have to see them in Facebook for the people that hang around up there. And they love to fight amongst themselves over the things that they don't know about the situation. Fuck, go and read it. Educate yourself for a few minutes and then go back and lay it down. At least you're going to be right at the end of the day. But it's a constant cycle of sorting out people's misunderstanding through misinterpretations of the information that's readily available to everybody. And across the board, no matter what detective, in this case, the Major Crimes Unit, all the same thing. When they're investigating something like this and there's no information, it's like a big 1,000-piece puzzle. And you sit there and you put all the pieces to the puzzle together until you can't fit any more pieces of puzzle on there. And then you come to your decisions at the end of it. Because you have all this accumulated either leads or evidence or information that you've had to gather working on your behalf, upping the probability of the chance that you're in the right direction. But they're far beyond that in this case. The misinterpretation by people about this particular polygraph is really what drives people's anxieties. And it's a misconception. I mean, you can go and read how it fits into the behavioral analysis team that they have in these and how it incorporates into a greater set of tools that they use essentially to generalize it, like statement analysis, different things, to determine whether or not, one, that the person is telling the truth or they're lying. It has nothing to do with the fucking machine that registers out a receipt and then they get into the Batmobile and take off in that sense. Not at all. Don't be fooled by that, because the son of a bitch that's really pounding that home is the fucking suspect on the 6 o'clock news on the CBC. What more of a red flag in this situation do you need for this idiot to jump to fantasy in order to try to convince the greater world out there that he's somehow innocent in all of this? He didn't even choose to take... I'll actually give him that one. I'll give him that one for the sake of having won. That was the only straight up hard denial about killing Jack and Lilly that there is out there. So I don't even really consider it. Everything else is the exact opposite of a hard denial in bringing harm to Jack and Lilly, or even having guilty knowledge of being responsible, or even wanting to talk about the circumstances in the last moments before these kids were reported missing, we'll say. This dude is set tripping on the CBC, and he's the only one out there that really thinks that it's doing him any good. It's all of that he's got, by the way, especially the fact that he is so suspect in all of this, we'll call it, as an alternate to just straight guilty. You don't need to get ahead of yourself in all of this. You don't need it. You realize that this son of a bitch is being so deceptive that it can only mean one thing. Therefore, you don't need to rely on this stupid ass anymore for information. You need to come about your information in other ways. And we only see things through, out here on social media and people in the live chat, we only see things through the lens, and it's very narrow sometimes. I don't feel... What did you say, the pond? I feel for those who are just starting to look into the case. Why? This case is so blatantly obvious. An idiot couldn't see that Daniel is guilty in this circumstance. Like, it is so bad. We're going to sit here and we're going to troll the shit out of his latest CBC interview. Dude, this CBC interview shows you just how unhinged the guy really is. If you choose to believe every word that he says, that's your prerogative. Chances are you're a fucking idiot too. Okay? We're not talking to you. We don't care about your input into any of this, by the way. Not that there's many of you out there. Holy shit. Daniel Martell, this behavioral analysis team's wet dream in this sense. How could you not let him keep going and going and going and going? If something happens, says Pink Roses, I think it did. We know it wasn't Malaya zooming around after midnight. She doesn't have energy for that. Listen, I love your guys' input. We don't even need to go there, remember. But you're allowed to, by the way. You can go there all you want, but there's no question in your minds who's responsible in this circumstance. He's had 5 months to add some context, add some reasonable context to anything, and they haven't wavered from their particular script and rehearsed story since the very beginning. And they refuse to talk about anything else in any detail, including what happened Thursday, Wednesday. They want to replace that for just not having to remember. It's not important. And this interview was fantastic. It's probably my favorite part, is when he says that nothing life-changing happened and it was a day just like any other day. This classic Peter Hyatt red flag. Therefore, there's no sense in remembering. Doesn't that just tell you the level of desperation and the actual, the paper tiger that he is at this point in time? Good day, Sky Maiden. Good to see you. My God, this is a desperate man. Someday soon, there's going to be a really, really interesting interview taking place, and God darn it. God damn it, I want to see it. Fuck. I'm telling you, they have to be chomping at the bit up there at the in the crimes unit. You know these investigators are. After I sat down and educated myself, I shared that on my community post wall, by the way, some of it. Just what you would find interesting. Oh, shit. Hey, Justin. Man, I felt so much better afterwards. Daniel's always talking about, I probably shouldn't be telling you this. He probably shouldn't be telling you this because he's fucking about to tell you a lie. Not because it's sensitive information and you all don't need to know. Imagine that in a missing child's case. That's still considered a missing child's case, by the way. But little side note to that, they treat every missing kid's situation as suspicious, thank God. This asshole is insistent on getting in front of a camera and just making the baseless claims that one thing means something in all of this. And that's usually attributed to his innocence. And what? We don't know. Something that he's insinuating. He's so chicken and so cowardly to commit linguistically to even denying. That's how obvious it is. And you know how far in his head every single one of you creators are out there that question this dumbass at this point in time? You're contributing, it's all your statements that are contributing to this weird fidgeting that he has. He sets off every red flag that there could possibly be in statement analysis and signs of deception. That it's laughable. It's comedic in that sense. You don't even need the polygraph. But here he wants you to believe that the polygraph examination is an easy button as to whether or not this man is innocent or not. When in fact it's anything but. Again, why is this individual disinforming you in front of a camera in this circumstance? Don't think that that's gotten by any of them up at the RCMP, but he's a difficult, uncooperative suspect. They have to get their information a different way. And he's playing games. Well, it just so happens that the RCMP love to play games. Not right now, Chair. Hold on. Just one moment. Oh, they love to play games. And the CBC are just there to document it all. Fuck me. Oh my God. I mean, it's entertaining in that sense. I'm sorry that Belinda and Jack and Lily have to go through this, obviously, but at this point in time, considering the situation that they've all brought us to, everybody needs to take a deep breath, because the RCMP will move when they're ready to move. No sense spooking the suspect by making all kinds of announcements. That's not how you want your investigations to work anyway. They tell you, don't worry, we're working. I won't take any digs at them. Listen, you're going to be riding high soon, because at some point in time, they'll have no other choice but to pull his punk ass in again. Whether or not they choose at a later time, that's probably something that the Crown it's something that's going to be at a different point in time, I think. Whether or not that they want to give Malaya immunity in this circumstance. They may need to, or they may not need to. I don't think that they're going to be aiming for that as an end goal. You do that in negotiations, essentially, after you've brought charges. And there will come a time and a point where they just will refuse to even say anything in the investigative chair. So you're going to have to only move once and be sure of what you're doing. These people have spent the last 5-6 months trying to gather information and rule things out so that that day may come. And the scheduling and the logistics that have to do with that are what's taken this long. I think it's hilarious that this asshole Daniel sits there and turns around and goes from high to a low to criticizing the RCMP and exactly what they're doing wrong. Shit, man. Of all the things that you should have rehearsed, it should have been these CBC interviews. Like, your criticisms don't even make sense. Nothing that you say, Daniel, has made sense on the CBC. And there's not one person out there that sits there and believes you or feels sorry for your ass, including those most closest to you. All right, Tweaker? They all know that you're guilty as fuck. Each and every one of them. And they'll all break, should they be withholding or omitting any sort of information. But that comes much later. That's not important. They'll just break naturally, especially when sentiment really turns.
The cadaver dogs, or the human remains dogs, were here recently. Walk me through that day. You knew that they were coming, but you didn't know when.
I actually got back from my visit with my daughter, and I come home and the dog.
I got too excited when I was researching all of this stuff. I got too excited in reading what a controlled confrontation is. And I was misinterpreting that and applying it to Daniel's situation here. And it's close, but it's not a controlled confrontation circumstance. What it is a... It was what I was thinking it was. I was just calling it something that it wasn't. So they did plan that. They did plan to confront Daniel in that circumstance to gauge his reaction, his feedback. Now look at what he's doing. He's on the CBC crying and complaining on tape. This is a trophy for those investigators at this point in time. A notch on their cap. And the hand movements on this jerky. I wonder who told him that was a good idea. Do you think that he's where's he picking this up at? Like, who's telling you that this is a good idea? Okay, stop that. Try standing still and looking me in the eye and responding. What's bothering you? What's got you down? Dude comes out here again with the same shirt, the same pants that he's had on in every single interview. I think that's crazy. What's up with that, bro? He's probably had to throw all his other clothes out. Burn them all up in a chemical fire.
Dogs were already, on scene, and they were there for about an hour before I got there. I didn't know the exact day when the arrival was going to happen. It was even a surprise to me, but at the end of the day, everything's ruled out there, and I hope this is speculation.
No, you'll notice that everything that this asshole is saying, like he's they're ruling things out in that circumstance. Well, that's right. But how that is associated to his innocence in this circumstance is a real jump. Okay? It has nothing to do, and he's always trying to fool your brain and trick your brain into thinking this by misdirecting and sidestepping. Okay? That's where we get confused. We call them out every time. None of this equates to you being any less suspicious in all of this. In fact, these are just steps along the way to negate your nonsensical initial claim that these kids wandered out of the house. They're possibly autistic and they're known to wander. And in that small 20-minute time frame, that is going to be your crippler in all of this stupid time frame that you told them, because it's all based around you telling them the truth, right? And we all know that you're not. So how are you going to match everything up to that 20-minute time frame? It should be fairly easy, should it have been real. You wanting to dismiss answers by it's not important or it's not worth remembering. That's not going to fly, son. That's going to give you a one-way ticket into a holding cell. That tells me that you really are not prepared and have no answers for anything. Just how superficial your bullshit is here. And that's all it is. It's amazing to me. I didn't expect that. Everything that you touch in this circumstance from them is an absolute lie. Did anybody else? You don't imagine that when you first come on to or first become aware of the case or a situation like this when it happens. They took advantage of that every single step of the way. And there's no way that this asshole, he's painted himself into a corner. The answers that he does give up, nothing to really do with the question that was asked. And it has more to do with how he's not guilty of anything. What does one thing have to do with the other? Why don't you explain that step by step? Explain that to the audience rather than sidestepping bullshit. That's not working for him. There's no way that you can relate to people who are actually legitimately concerned about children as a whole, or even people who loved Jack and Lily. That's on tape. That's not working very well at all. It's like you shit your pants, pal. He's up there. Well, look at watch. Charity needs a snack. She says hello.
Elsewhere.
So you arrive home after visiting with your daughter. They're there, and then what happens?
They're there, and then I walk up, greet them, and meet them for the very first time. It's like, can I come close to you and the dogs? And he said, oh yeah. And then investigators were there, or one investigator, and had a conversation with him, and they said, like, yeah, we're going to do the property. I said, perfect, like, let's do every square inch. And that's when it began with, where do you think we should where do you think we should search? And in my mind, these guys are the best. They're supposed to be the best. They should have mapped the terrain, looked at satellite imagery, and found every single speck on that property that needed to be searched. And they should have had,
Daniel, how does that polygraph examination associated with your innocence in anything? Just because they asked the question doesn't mean anything. There's no passing or failing the test in the first place. It's information to be kept, to be used for further analysis. It's not a button as to whether or not you're guilty. They don't have to tell you the truth. Why wouldn't you represent the technology and the process accurately? Why do you have the need to just look as stupid as you do? Because it's easier for people to believe that you're just stupid and don't know what you're talking about rather than actually lying? It has nothing to do with anything, and you're walking around telling people that you passed the polygraph and you're no longer, you've been cleared. That's not even its purpose. Not even its purpose. Why don't you educate people to what a false positive is when it comes to polygraph examinations? It's something that you didn't mention up on this CBC, especially when it comes to people who are excited, anxious, nervous. the risk increases 1,000-fold. So really, at the end of it, they're so unreliable, you can only use them a certain way. It's not actually for telling them anything. They don't give a shit. It's just part of the process because it's a tool. You use it in conjunction with statement analysis, behavioral analysis with Daniel Martell. Oh, it's one of the funniest things to watch and really dissect on the internet right now. It's hot. Holy mackerel. You are so full of shit, bro. It's like, how the fuck could you possibly believe that you have like walked away from that interview and feeling good? God, I'm glad to get that off my chest, man. I'm just so concerned. Dude, you couldn't have looked any worse. When do you want to schedule the next one? We got to schedule a couple of them. Let's do this once a week. Holy Hannah. You're not even a good pretender. It doesn't even come across as genuine at this point. People are so far up in his head that he has to blather on about how hard of a time he's having because people suspect him of things and they're not allowed to think that way. He's hurt. He's got his feels. He's got sad feels. What? Come on. I can't imagine life getting any easy for him at this point in time. Oh, he is, Brian. Guilty AF. It is something else. So after all of this nonsense, it brought me back to thinking about where he could have disposed of Jack and Lilly. And granted, not knowing about what actually happened, we're still after the truth of this situation. It's very likely, or it's probable, that whatever he did, whatever escalated to the point of violence, because there's two kids here, that he already knew he was going to have to get rid of the bodies before he did it. Or right around that time. There's no time to be leaving traces of decomp around, especially on a freezing night. You wrap them up in the sweaters that you told everybody Malaya stole from you, and you take them out into the woods, into some... There's such leakage, by the way, in this. Or was it this? Or Yeah. It was this video. It's coming up here. He says, and he mentions the term, are you listening, Mike DeMann? Soft ground. I even told them, he says, about where there's places, so he's the suggestion is that's a bit of leakage. We'll get to that point when we get to it in just a few minutes. Oh, no, JC. You're right. JC's talking about he hasn't given two shits about those babes. It's just been so obvious every step of the way where his priorities lie in all of this. And it's self-preservation. And this is all on the backs, and it's so obvious to people wanting information on the Jack and Lilly case. How did this become the Daniel is innocent case? That's taken priority. Oh, we're going to get them to tell us where the kids are. It's going to take a while probably because they're not exactly cooperative. That's why it's so fantastic to watch this douchebag on the CBC. The detectives can distance themselves from it and take it all in. It's just the same thing as being there in real life. You didn't even have to schedule them. Eventually, somebody's going to have to answer. Eventually, this puzzle is going to be on the 999th piece. One away from being solved. And that's when you pull them in. You pull them all in at the same time and shake them down and have a little bit of fun with them after you have a dozen of your donuts and some coffee from Tim Hortons. Because it's going to be a long night. This Jack and Lily situation is going to get that RCMP officer a promotion. I can feel it now. If only he would have shut up. I wonder how different the things would be at this point in time. He's going to be thinking that at some point too. Holy man, I've never quite experienced. There's something new all the time when it comes to these circumstances and how people behave. I've seen people question, and that question float around out there. People are still coming to learn about this. And I guess we've all been there at this point. But the more that you come to learn, the more that you fall back onto the statistics and how sad and relevant that they become in these circumstances. It's always, almost always, usually by somebody closest to them, meaning closest to the kids, in a place of caring for them. I guess you could look at it that way. Listen, Lori, this is the thing. People keep talking about Mr. Big operations and all these fantastic things and these technical, this jargon that gets into people's vernacular over things that they watch, I think. But listen, it hasn't necessitated that yet. Okay, they haven't needed to go out and become, what would the term be, proactive in their investigation to start gathering intel, like they would go undercover or something like that. No, you haven't needed any of that nonsense yet. You just need a little bit of time, because Daniel here is voluntarily calling the CBC, insisting, behaving in this certain way in light of Jack and Lily gone missing. They really they know as much as they need to know to take it to the next step. The problem with all of this, even when we're sitting here brainstorming, is that people are very impatient. Patience is everything, whether it be up in the stock exchange or your crypto exchange or in an investigation of any sort. You've got to be patient. And time, it's time. It's not like they're ignoring it or not looking to solve this circumstance. It's pretty much solved itself. It may not seem so to the layman, but the good news is it has to be, because Daniel's behavior, the same behavior that he wants you to believe, exonerates him from any sort of responsibility in this circumstance. That's a problem too, because he has a real refusal of self-ownership in any part of this. Can you imagine how bad you would feel if you know how remorseful you would feel if something, God forbid, happened to you or your child? A parent, no matter what, when they care, feels responsible. But these are the most irresponsible individuals I think that we've come across in quite some time. Now, you got that right, Julia Hayden. This case needs to be solved before Meadows' custody is determined. You see those conversations, people bring that up too. Yeah, nothing's going to happen with Meadow until there's some fucking answers here. Why is it that this Daniel, is insisting on closing the book, using these terms? And it's all out of self-preservation. He's never once associated with it to Jack and Lily and their circumstances, except for a brief time period when he tries to, tell you that he's here, I'm here for Jack and Lily. I'm doing it for the kids. It's all about the kids. I just like to slap that son of a bitch when I hear that. There's no possible way that there's any cop up there that does believe him. Those guys are worth their salt when they can act. No, those cops can act. But it's all about building rapport in this circumstance to a police officer. That's oh so important. That's part of the patience and the training. That's something that you probably have to practice. But it's no problem, because as soon as you get used to procedure and policy around the place, you'll know exactly, where to hide it. What you won't have time to really worry about your emotions or what you truly feel about this circumstance. You're too worried about getting this particular piece of paperwork done in time. You're busy.
Better coordination with reviewing those maps and people involved from the start with search and rescue to determine areas they need to search.
This is the sort of hand gestures that you would imagine somebody who's up there in a church, who's up there in a you like the three tenors that are about to sing a ballad. Figaro. He's going to start into a really good version of The Barber of Seville.
To determine areas they need to search.
What happened? Did you tell them where to search or advise them, or what did you say?
I gave them like any indication that, soft grounded areas like the marsh, the ponds, anything like that. But I said, you're well.
Or he's like a 1990s gangster rap artist with all of these hand gestures. Dude, are you watching too much MTV, bro? Too much music?
Welcome to do anywhere. They did inside the house. They did.
He's dancing like Snow. He's dancing like Informer. Remember that song?
Everywhere, vehicles. They did
I like a boom boom bia.
In the amount of time that they were given to do it.
So what did they search when they came inside? How did that go?
Well, when they took the dogs inside the house, they ran from one side of the house to the other.
You know what cracks me up as well at this point? Instead of going into detail yet again, what is the topic? You could make the topic every day at this point around how Daniel can't account for that Thursday at all. He has not done it in the past 4 months. He's even brought it up and told us all that it wasn't worth remembering, so he doesn't have to say anything. Fuck, I think we were right over the target, boys. Bombs away. You need to go in hard on that, because the more that people talk about it, the more he's just utterly refusing. And wouldn't you know it, he's setting off Peter Hyatt level alarms. Classical signs of deception. There's no way that you could possibly convince anybody of what you're claiming your reasoning be, Daniel, to be true, because it's just flawed. You're wrong. It doesn't work like that. In fact, it works the exact opposite way as that, and it being the human brain and your memory. But all that can be askewed, of course, because you're a hardcore addict. You're a tweaker, bro. That really fucks with your memory and your time. Can you imagine even saying that when just hours later, nothing life-changing happened on Thursday, therefore it was not important to answer? Dude, it's not important to remember. Again, here we have Daniel picking out the spots exactly what are and what are not important to remember, and he's clearing the files of his mind like you do every night. Like this is a computer. Well, it is kind of, but listen, that's not how the mind works, my friend. The fact that he's up here claiming that instead of just actually going through it, you know how it would have taken you, there's 3 hours there that you had to account for. You could have explained it minute by minute, and it would take you less time to have denied it. You could have told that to the cops. But again, he can't get past this experiential memory, and he was pulling from Wednesday, he was pulling from Thursday. Neither of them have a verified story about what and why they were out. Yeah, they were seen, but there's a lot more to the story, okay, than just recognizing it and seeing that they were at one place. It all fits in together, and none of this fits. None of it fits. And here this individual had every opportunity to offer up and get the real heat off his back, but he refuses to yet again, citing that it's just not important. Just another red... It's obvious at this point in time. And it's certainly obvious to a professional. And there's not going to be anything that changes that, Daniel. You've had 6 months to fill in the fucking blanks. And you haven't. And in this circumstance, with the level of trauma that should have been occurring around there, you would have had really everything as you needed it as far as your timeline goes. And you still haven't a timeline. Not for that night. Those hours between the hours of 9 and midnight, you've had to have done something to Jack and Lily. Something happened. See, something that now you're so terrified about, it's probably creating trauma within yourself. So you're desperate to forget that. You're desperate to erase that trauma from your mind. But you can't. And you won't, because we'll be here to remind you about just how full of shit you are. I do appreciate the interview with the CBC, though, because it's really entertaining.
Waiting for the dogs to, bark or pick up a scent, and nothing was located. Same with all the property. There was no indication of anything. They didn't do it once. They took in both dogs. They did the whole thing. They did like up the road. They did the blanket site. They did pipeline where the blueprint was found. I mean, they exhausted every single area within Lansdowne.
Yeah, the pipeline trail right here where we're standing.
Mm-hmm. They spent every hour they could searching, not planning or anything like that. I mean, they were boots on the ground, just doing whatever they could.
You were mentioning that you had a bit of a tense reaction with one of the dog handlers. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was a little bit heartbreaking and saddening to hear what the words that came out of his mouth. And for me, all I was trying to do was ever help. Like that's all I've been doing is cooperating, and to see that and hear that, I mean, it was pretty saddening.
What did he say?
He said your Thursday and all the way leading into Friday morning, there's not enough detail. And I said to him that Thursday was just an ordinary day until I woke up on Friday morning, and that's when life changed. There was nothing like life changing on Thursday. It was a normal day. So, therefore, there was nothing detailed that needed to be remembered that day.
Oh my God.
Until changed. There was nothing like life changing on Thursday. It was a normal day. So, therefore, there was nothing detailed that needed to be remembered that day.
Can you believe that? I wonder what's going through that CBC reporter's head right about now. Problem is, Daniel, these reporters all have degrees. They all had to pass courses to get those degrees and would be well aware of just how wrong that statement you made is. God.
Until Friday morning.
So he was mentioning something along the lines of something happened Thursday night, and your story isn't matching up?
Yeah, well, not just matching, it didn't have enough detail for him, personally. And then that's when I asked him, do you know anything on the case? And he said, not really. I've seen you on the news once. And that kind of alarmed me, or, you know, shocking, because you're having somebody that's trying to get you to admit to something and they don't know any details. So therefore, my Thursday didn't have any details. Your knowledge of the case didn't have any details. So you shouldn't try to force something on me without knowing any of the background.
Did he make any accusations at you?
Yeah, he did. He said that Thursday didn't have enough details and we think you did something to the kids Thursday night. And I asked him, like, what are you talking about? Like, I just ran through whole Thursday and Wednesday with you. Like, we just spent the last 20 minutes talking. And there's not enough detail because I thought it was an ordinary day. In the end, like, cadaver dogs were there, they went through, and the story continues. In conclusion to all of this, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm still helping investigators at every turn we could possibly think of. And hopefully we see some kind of resolution soon, or some kind of outcome that's positive.
How's that communication in your relationship with RCMP now, 5 months later, and then given that interaction a few weeks ago?
At this point, I go to them. They don't ever come to me. It's just like I have to contact them, I have to go to them, and it's been like that for a little while now, because I've given them so many leads, and there's only so much I can do. I was told not to pursue any leads, so I'm not the one who's going to be going out there investigating.
Why do you pursue leads? Because you're still out there talking to people and finding out new details.
By pursuing leads, they mean if I have a lead, I don't track it down in person. But yeah, like, I'm still open to talk to the public. I have no fake accounts. I don't have anything that would be not under my name. Like, I go fully into every comment with my name present. So I have nothing to hide. People are free to message me whenever, and people are free to discuss anything they want with me. Any angle, any perspective that they have, I'm open to it. And I will pass it along to investigators if it's a solid perspective. Every tip matters. All 800 and almost 900 of them matter.
Do you find that engaging helps for you?
It doesn't help me mentally, that's for sure, but I still do it. I'm basically desensitized to all judgment at this point, so if anybody has anything, you can just come to me, or you can go to Major Crimes, you can go to your local police department, they'll pass along tips, or Crime Stoppers. Because this whole situation has drug on for way too long, and it's absolutely destroying everyone involved.
So what does this tell you now that the cadaver dogs were in, they didn't find anything? Do you think, like, the part on the woods, do you think that's case closed?
It should be case closed. It should have been case closed from the very start. Because with the amount of resources, the technology, and amount of searchers, and everyone deployed in that first initial search, that was a lot. That was an 8-kilometer radius outwards. And it's just the amount of money and people's time, injuries that were sustained during that. It's just, people should have just opened their eyes to see that we need to look elsewhere. I pointed many fingers, and I think that's where the people should look.
Not here.
Not here. Not in the woods. The fingers have been pointed. Let's start taking a look.
What's going through your mind as you see their picture every day still?
It's just heartbreaking to know that 5 months have passed and school started, the summer ended. Like, this should be a chance for kids to be interacting and doing kid things.
You don't quite know what to say there, do you, Daniel? That's not very convincing. And what does that have to do with Jack and Lily? Why don't you explain that part of it?
Enjoying their lives as kids. You know, like, it's not just all the kids that miss them from school and community, and, you know, at this point, the whole country that, you know they're missing. it's just like I have kids too that know that they're missing too, and like that's heartbreaking for them. Like Meadow doesn't understand, but one day she will, and she knows that Dad spoke up for Jack and Lily when no one else would.
Oh, friends. What's going on, Daphne? Good to see you. Yeah, you're picking up on that, Amy? Him stumbling and struggling? It did feel like that. It did feel like that, didn't it? Osprey, Wade's daughter is talking on Facebook. How do you know it's Wade's daughter? You mean Wade Paris? Is it interesting? Any interesting things that you've picked up?
The fall super sale is on.
Well, I know.
Cadaver dogs in.
Well, I'm actually pretty happy about that because.
Is there any news going on around out there that I should know of? The markets are just taking a dive right now. Anybody else notice any announcements out there?
It's been about 3 months. I've been asking for them, and it's just been delayed. Well, delayed, I guess, till now. But I know things take time, and dogs are hard to get.
So what does this say to you? Because I mean, they are dogs searching for human remains.
Well, I know that it's going to be really hard work now that there's so much vegetation in the woods, but I'm pretty happy that they're going to be able to do it. I even hope that they bring more than one dog if they have access to more than one dog.
So what are you happy about? What do you hope this will bring?
I would just like to see maybe the social media speculation, theories, and accusations. Maybe they're not going to stop, but slow down, because at this point they're getting ridiculous.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything. I mean, that's probably why they waited this long to do it. It's just to keep the public informed, I guess, that they're hard at work.
Do you think it will rule things out?
Yeah, I think we'll rule a lot of things out. Rule out that the RCMP.
Oh, fuck no. I just got liquidated in one of my positions hard. The crypto market bounced so hard. I've never even seen anything like what's going on right now. But I think it has to do with what Donald Trump, he's talking about 100% tariffs on China starting November 1st. That fucking announcement just got me liquidated. Son of a bitch. Well, live by the sword, die by the sword, I guess.
We are, working hard, and there's no human remains on the property.
Is there any piece of you that's preparing for the fact, like, what if they do find something?
No, because I didn't do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything. Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
Oh, it's all good. They weren't overly big.
Why
I just
do you
wasn't
think
expecting it.
They're not possibly, that they didn't possibly wander into the woods?
Well, with the amount of resources that were used, and I mean, for everything from drones to helicopters to classified technology and all the searchers on the ground. I mean, searchers on bicycles. They did everything. On the pipeline, they took in ATVs and Argos and side-by-sides. They used everything they could.
Tell me about what.
She's giving him every opportunity to give thorough, clear answers. You have the opportunity, Daniel, and you take it to sidestep. Yeah, right, Cool Jay. Who should have known that you didn't unalive any kids?
What do you make at this point of the.
Well, the reality is that at some point the RCMP are going to have to give him the opportunity to come clean about the situation. After calling him out and putting him in a situation like that, Michelle, you're saying in your opinion could be they OD'd on the drugs too. Happens all the time. He lies so much. Kids ODing on drugs doesn't happen all the time. What you notice is more and more parents are trying to regulate their children's behavior. Would an addict in this circumstance, would they try to what would otherwise be sedating their kids so that they would go to sleep? Did Daniel take it upon himself because the kids wouldn't listen to Malaya to sedate the kids, and he just he put too much in their drinks and they stopped breathing? You would think if that was the case that fentanyl would be involved. I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not saying that there's only one way to think, but people always want to incorporate their ideas. I get what you're saying. I mean, it's a possibility, but that's something for Daniel to admit to in the circumstance. Everything else is pointing to the fact that something's escalated, but yet he's still criminally on the hook for this. He's responsible for it. It crosses my mind, Pink Roses, because you would think that maybe that's something that he would do. I don't know. It's a strong possibility. I mean, it's on the table. No matter what it is technically, that's not the end of the story, though, right? So we have a problem with what happened to the kids to make them or put themselves in a situation to have to be disposed of. So was it criminal negligence? Was it homicide? Murder one? You know, whatever it is, Daniel and Malaya are responsible for the safety of their kids. But then they went above and beyond, desecrated a corpse. There's all kinds of charges for that, and have actively hidden their body, presumably like a scofflaw would, in order to protect themselves, because they know that they're responsible and they don't want to get caught. It was a valid alternative to them in the moment to put forward a false story rather than call an ambulance because there was an accident. It's something that would probably have gotten them in very severe trouble in that circumstance. That's why I lean on the side of Daniel doing something physically. Okay, because he's an out-of-control tweaker. He can't regulate his emotions. He's a completely different personality on that substance.
The investigation of what RCMP have been doing or not doing? What's your stance on all of that?
Well, I would like to go in for another whole round of polygraph exams. I mean, that would be, and maybe bring some new people in that are doing the polygraph exams. But I know they're hard at work. I've filled notebooks with just trying to help them find leads, or give them any kind of small detail, answer as many questions as I can, or, you know, but I'm doing everything I can. I usually try to meet with them 3 times a week, and sometimes they're not around for that, or phone calls or texts, but whatever we can do.
So I guess to bring it back to the cadaver dogs, since you've been asking for it for so long, I guess, you don't have any information on how that will happen?
No, I don't even know where quite they're going to start searching, or what they're going to do. Are they going to expand out onto the properties? The property there is fairly small. It's only 2 acres. So.
Yeah. Will it be the whole 8.5 that they searched
Yeah,
previously?
I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. That would be quite a few. That'd be a couple weeks probably on foot doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the documents, and you know some of the other stuff RCMP has said or done, there's 70,000 drone photos that were taken during the search. That's a lot of photos. I mean, they had to review and do everything. So they would have found some kind of something there. Or even when they brought in classified technology, they scanned the whole area. They ever found a beaver and a coyote. That's all they found.
So why do you think this step is necessary?
Well, it just rules out one and brings the book a little bit closer to being closed. I mean, one chapter at a time.
How have you been doing?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm doing well, but doing better than I was at the start, I guess. It's physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, but every day you wake up and it's a new day. New hope. And just keep going forward.
Tell me about the toll, like what you were just mentioning earlier about social media.
Yeah, social media has been quite a circus, we'll call it. But I can't control them, and they're free to judge.
Patty Burns says, he must think we're all born yesterday, trying to convince us he knows nothing. Even here, his body language is so off. It is, isn't it?
But maybe just...
Well, the guys that are producing it learned from this interview. They zoomed out a little bit so they could get a full body shot of him in this interview, and it was worth looking at. The behavioral analysis just love that. Oh, it's probably nothing though. Oh, it's probably just nothing, Daniel. Don't worry about it. You think he generally believes that the RCMP and himself are on on a level in that sense, that he's actually getting updates? Why is he misrepresenting what it really is? Finally, he said I have to call them. I have to call in and talk to them and get updates in this circumstance. So they're not going to give him any updates as to anything important when it comes to the investigation. You're going to give him the normal statements like you saw on the CBC yesterday. Only personally, if you're talking to him on the phone. Whatever makes you feel better in the moment, I guess. He's probably trying to gauge any changes in the officer's voice he's talking to if he suspects anything. Ooh, I don't like the way he questioned me there. I'm saddened. Daniel was saddened because one of the detectives accused him of something. Just because you're admitting to a sensitivity doesn't make it any less of a sensitivity. It doesn't negate the fact that it's a valid point. Just that you actually don't really have any answer to it at all.
Use a little bit of this before they start typing, or use an AI for pictures.
I mean, we're coming up on, is it coming up to 5 months?
Yeah, in the second, so yeah, it's less than 2 weeks.
Like, did you ever imagine that we'd be here still talking about this?
No. I thought with the amount of resources and amount of different units for RCMP working on it, everything from dive teams to canine units, and they have dedicated teams just for social media. They have a dedicated guy that just sits there and watches highway cameras. So.
What's it been like for you now that we're back to September, school's back, and seeing the school bus go by every day?
Yeah, no, it's hard. There's quite a few school buses that go by, and there's a lot of kids in the area I see, and it's sad. It's not just sad for Jack and Lily, but it's sad for everybody who knew Jack and Lily. They had friends, went to school, and it's just, they had teachers that seen them every day, and it's just hard on everybody.
I know we ask you this every single time, but why do you keep doing it?
For Jack and Lily. I don't do this for myself because I'm going to see this online later and people are going to analyze it. Every time I move my hands, every time I open my mouth, every facial expression, they analyze everything right down to a T.
I love that one. Right down to a T, guys. Good job. Oh, God. Pink Roses, Lori said he went into the kid's room at midnight, turned off the light, or turned the light on. Maybe that's when everything goes wrong. What are you saying, Katrina Collier? Yep, Drunk Turkey points out officers care about him. That's why the officers said the kid's family. Daniel, you're not the kid's family, so there's no informing you at all. That's a great point. Exactly. It was Drunk Turkey's talking about that. Is that what he's saying? What? That's really placating to Daniel in that sense. He's a true believer. He's probably a flat earther over there, bro. Maybe he's just a good actor. Who knows? I have a hard time believing somebody's that stupid. And if they are, you probably want to avoid them a little bit. Unless you're Daniel. Unless you're Daniel, of course. How many clowns could fit into a 5-speed? Enough. You think Patty Burns that he looks a little bit proud that he's getting away with it? I think it's probably a bit of duper's delight, right? It's just he can't control himself in that sense, so a lot of it shows. Like he's forced to fabricate in real time, and the things that he reaches for psychologically to pull from really tell us where to look. Like all of these leads he's talking about. I call him up and give him some leads, some new leads. You guys might want to look in BC. I think there was a sighting up in the Yukon. I'll have to call that one in. Well, JC, that's what he's doing to himself by being on those substances. He's torturing himself. Especially on that particular substance, the mathematics. I haven't got a close look at his chiclets, Miss K, but you guys obviously have. I think that's just his genetics. Like Earl's got big chiclets. Got great big, beaver teeth, like a rabbit. No. You just laughing at Daniel right now, Lori Green? So I was interested. You guys were talking about the daughter, Wade Paris's daughter's talking up on Facebook. Where was that? Let me know in chat. And what did she say? Anything of any interest, or what's she commenting on? His face is grimacing while his hands are performing Swan Lake. Yeah, he's a ballerina. He's a black belt in ballet. Maybe it's his training. It's very elegant. You have such nice moves. Must be a backup singer for the Stones. Silver, can you get a t-shirt like he wears? And a cheap-ass fake chain? Hey, that's 14 karat gold, baby. The real deal. Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm stumped on that one. Why he there has to be a reason he's putting on the same clothes for these interviews. And I'm pretty sure the dude owns more than one shirt and one pair of pants, of course. But why is he purposely putting the same things on? Is he trying to stay to a motif? He's got a theme going on? Does he need these clothes to fit into a certain persona? A character? What happened to the just did it shirt? Your Nike getup. Maybe that's what it is, Peggy McMahon. That's a good point. They only do laundry every 6 weeks. Where did you guys hear that? Daniel said that somewhere, did he? They only do laundry every 6 weeks, whether they need to or not. What? Is that a direct quote, Peggy? What? Think about that. You got a family of 5, okay, and a baby. Your washing machine should be going really nonstop. Laundry, sheets, clothes, clean clothes. There's a cycle you get into, right? You have a couple laundry baskets or a clothes hamper. And this Daniel is telling everybody that they only wash clothes every 6 weeks if they even need to. Tell me you're exaggerating that. Tell me you're exaggerating. Something tells me I don't think so. It is probably something that he said. That can't be true. That can't be true. Well, that's gross. I could get away with wearing jeans or a certain pair of work pants, 2-3 days in a row, maybe even a week if I have to. The power goes out or something for a long period of time and I have to struggle. Well, every 6 weeks, think about the like for me, I don't think I could just go without, I wouldn't have enough clean clothes to go 6 weeks. So it would just be like not washing my clothes. That's what it really is. It's just not washing your clothes. Heaven's sakes. You only got so many things like I put into the cycle at one time. But think about the towels, bed sheets, especially poop all over the place. Like, eventually you're going to get poop on things. You got to wash them. I hate dirty clothes just hanging around, lingering. Why? Just wash the damn things and put them away. What's up with that? Well, Lily, that's nonsense. You can go get a used washer for $100, and it'll serve its purpose. It doesn't have to be expensive or new or advanced. At 4 and 6, Daphne, the kids should be changed at least twice a day. You think that would be unavoidable? It'd be unavoidable not to be changing shirts, pants constantly with kids that are 4 and 6. It'd be something that you remember because you're tied to it. You're tied to, helping the kids get changed. It's part of your routine. Except if you're Daniel. But I thought he was looking after every little thing over there. Yeah, at least, Daphne, I'm still... it's 2-3 times a day here as well. But I'm thinking for a 4 and 6-year-old, so much is out of your control when it comes to them. They're always spilling stuff down their front. Snack time. They miss their face. It's like, you know what? Let's just get a clean shirt. I can't stand watching kids run around with dirty stuff on. We have to do something about it. Because when you're clean, you're comfortable. Explore Core, that's a good observation. Is it just me, or does the statement of washing every 6 weeks remind of the hundreds of dirty diapers, moldy clothes in the basement when Malaya was with Cody? Yeah, it kind of rhymes with that, doesn't it? What is up? What is up with that? Like, what is keeping you so out of it that things just pile up that long? That's just not healthy. Like, what are you so preoccupied with? Cooper, how often is rubbish collected in Nova Scotia? Well, if it's anywhere like here, it's once every 2 weeks, but it's such crap because our recycling programs are shit. They end up just making them, it's garbage anyway, but you have to sort it. Then they just end up dumping it in the landfill anyway. Every week, it should be garbage collection every week, but here it's every 2 weeks now, and it's ridiculous. Miss K, you would sell an ATV and use the money to get a washing machine? Well, Danny doesn't have any kids. Doesn't need to now. You get the ATV with the washing machine attachment for it. If there was one. Yeah, Drippy. Compost or organic waste. That organic waste bucket is empty here. We don't have that much organic waste to throw away that would necessitate its own garbage day. It's stupid, in my opinion. We eat everything we make. We don't throw anything away. Janie probably isn't too clean either. Kids usually take on habits of the parents when it comes to tidiness. Well, that's not always true. My mom's a neat freak. I could be a lot cleaner. But I've given up a certain amount because of special needs and I just don't like being a stickler like that. We practice being clean. It's an always to do thing, but we're always practicing. It takes up a lot of time in our lives, doesn't it? Cleaning up. I could do a lot better of a job, I think. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Norbeaster. Some people go through phases. Miss V, do we all know a similar to Daniel in our lives, past lives, non-sober lives? We don't know much about Daniel and how he is in that sense. We think we do. But in this circumstance, it's more, the focus should be on Jack and Lily in this sense. It never is because Daniel never takes it there. He has all this opportunity to say something proper in the cameras, and it always has to do with the updates being more associated with somehow making him look less of a suspect or innocent. If you're here on social media, he really makes that jump, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And anybody and everybody out there needs to call him out on it. Except in Drunk Turkey's live chat, because you'll just get banned. He's just giving him a place to talk. Yeah, some parents are afraid to let the kids get dirty. That's true. I've seen that before, Lori. If kids are out playing, the saying goes, dirty kids are happy kids. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you got to let them get dirty. Not too dirty, though. And they don't need to truck it all over the house. Oh. Yeah, Miss K, it doesn't cost you anything to try to be clean. I should remind myself of that every time I leave shit out on the lawn. What's up, Jamie? Daphne says, do you think we owe Daniel an apology if he had nothing to do with this? Serious question. No, not at all. We're not in a position to have to apologize to Daniel because we analyze his statements and tell you exactly what it means. There's no need to apologize to Daniel or Janie at any point. And even bringing it up at this point, it's a little ridiculous. But I understand the question, Daphne. You're not ridiculous. No. Because it's a statement that's brought people here to this level of suspicion, and they've got every right to. He should be apologizing to everybody out here for dragging us into this scenario, and especially apologizing to Belinda Gray. You think you're ever going to get an apology from Daniel? If he genuinely wasn't hiding guilty knowledge in this circumstance, we'll term it right now, he would be behaving a lot differently. He would not have the need to be even giving updates in this circumstance. Like, remember, there's a need for him to be in front of the camera, and he's not even related to the kids. It's really Malaya's role in this circumstance, or them together if they were together, but you're not even with them. They left right away, and he's overacting. He's doing too much. He needs to get in front of that camera sometimes to send out those coercive messages to Malaya and build the narrative. Of course, it's all out of self-preservation. If Malaya goes down, Daniel's probably going to go down. Because as soon as they start turning the questions as to calling out their lies and digging deeper into them, they're going to fold like a cheap suit. It doesn't mean they're going to admit to anything or confess to anything. Maybe one day they'll just have a heart-to-heart talk with Daniel for all of this good rapport that they were building with him. Cry on each other's shoulders and elicit a confession that way. Tell him everything's going to be okay. You're not going to have to worry about doing the lawn anymore. Somebody has to answer for what happened to Jack and Lily. And the answers aren't too far away. Lori, you're going to apologize to Daniel? I'm kidding. Yeah, she can gauge it. You're right. She can gauge it just by what's being talked about out there on social media. It's all been sourced by Daniel. It's not like it's a real problem with people making things up. Daniel, it's destroying Daniel's life. Didn't he tell us that? All of these allegations are destroying people's lives, this not knowing, and somehow he wants to put all of that onto the RCMP as it's their fault for not solving it. So not figuring things out, because that's their job, right? Not in this case.
The cadaver dogs, or the human remains dogs, were here recently.
Gators at every turn you could possibly think of, and hopefully we see some kind of resolution soon, or some kind of outcome that's positive.
How's that communication in your relationship with RCMP now, 5 months later, and then given that interaction a few weeks ago?
At this point, I go to them. They don't ever come to me. It's just like I have to contact them, I have to go to them, and it's been like that for a little while now because I've given them so many leads and there's only so much I can do. I was told not to pursue any leads, so I'm not the one who's going to be going out there investigating.
Why do you pursue leads? Because you're still out there talking to people and finding out new details.
By pursuing leads, they mean if I have a lead, I don't track it down in person. But yeah, like, I'm still open to talk to the public. I have no fake accounts. I don't have anything that would be not under my name. Like, I go fully into every comment with my name present. So I have nothing to hide. People are free to message me whenever, and people are free to discuss anything they want with me. Any angle, any perspective that they have, I'm open to it. And I will pass it along to investigators if it's a solid perspective.
What does that mean? What does that mean exactly, Daniel? Yeah, why does he mention no fake accounts, Daphne? Like, why do they always say I have nothing to hide? Because it's an effort to try to convince you, convince you into believing a certain way instead of using your own good judgment or your own senses to determine whether or not a story would make sense. He's replacing the narrative with a plea for you to believe him, essentially. He's trying to con you. No fake accounts. Like, why would that even be relevant to anything if you didn't have one, Daniel? What is a fake account actually? What is the definition of a fake account exactly? like these are the things that all need explanation, and he's never there to explain. Just superficially tell you these things as though that you're commanded to believe them. All right? No, the onus isn't on us to believe your bullshit story. The onus is on you to give us some sort of rational explanation for why Jack and Lily are missing here. But he doesn't know he was sleeping. I don't think so. Exactly. Always trying to convince, and people, in my opinion, that are all about sympathizing for them and saying we should apologize, have an agenda. Roger Dodger. Exactly, Daphne. Listen, you don't need anybody's validation. It's a bunch of people who subscribe to groupthink because it thinks it gets them some clout in with a private group of individuals. People like to pretend that they think that they know. That happens in my comment section all the time, but when you study and you practice even PLAIDS or any other statement analysis or things like this, you always have a factual backbone. Nobody can ever take that away from you. Remember, these things are indicators. You use them in relation to other things to help determine who's telling the truth and who's full of shit. But you really don't need it at this point with Daniel because the effort is just so bad. It's holy mackerel. Daniel, the things that you're saying on the TV as to reasons why don't make any sense. You could have thought these questions or answers through before you even said it. But he's relying on just asking you all just to believe him. Why would you even want people just to believe you based off of what you say? It wouldn't be a concern to you. It wouldn't be a concern to Daniel if he didn't feel so pressured. And he feels pressure because he's indeed hiding guilty knowledge. This is what it looks like. And whatever happened to Jack and Lily, he was certainly at that time was not going to take the fall, not going to prison because of whatever happened to one or both, eventually both. And that's just the type of son of a bitch he is. That's an instant decision. And he did it all while he was high. There'll never be an answer to why. We can see the reasons and all the contributing factors in their lives and in Jack and Lily's circumstances and living conditions as to what contributed to the negative vibes around the place. And to, unfortunately, the abuse and the substance abuse compounds that even further. Because of the mathematics, it would have made him so unpredictable and open to fits of rage. And he was already a bit of a control freak and a problem around Malaya. Holding her down. It was something that she says they are always arguing about. Wade talks all about how Malaya's talking about how Daniel's beating up on her. I believe Wade, but she wouldn't talk or go into a whole lot of detail. So he's already normalized the physicality between the two in the relationship. It's highly likely at that point that was just falling onto the children. You could see through their behavior, Janie and Daniel's, that they didn't like the kids very much. And it was already known to Wade that Daniel didn't like the kids. So it's so easy for Daniel just to snap. Especially at some point, things escalate. All the things and the financial difficulties, the notes that they're getting from the CRA, the family's truly going to be affected, and they're going to starve because of Daniel's lack of participation in the family. So I wonder what it is. Was it just the simple fact that the kids wouldn't listen to Daniel and it just escalated that way? Because what they have mentioned about the Thursday night that they give us an inconsistent timeline over between the hours of 9 and midnight on May 1st. We do know that they did bring up mentioning trying to put the kids to bed, the act of trying to put the kids to bed. They were hyper. They were excited, banging off the walls. A circumstance like that might get to the point of frustration when Daniel is under the influence and trying to exert his control over the situation with the children. Did Daniel grab poor Jack by the neck like Dennis the Menace and wring it like it's a cartoon? In that moment of passion, Daniel's not going to be capable of holding himself back. He's not going to be able to regulate his emotions, nor is he going to be able to regulate the pressure that he put on somebody's throat. On top of all the discrepancies that we've focused on and pointed out, we haven't focused, and it's all been, I'm talking about Thursday and Wednesday and the timeline and the inconsistencies. It really shows in Malaya's statements and like trying to identify if the kids and when the kids made it home on that Thursday. We have yet to go into the inconsistencies with Daniel and relate that to the overall scenario. It gets even more confusing, even worse. That'll be for our next shows in that circumstance. These are the things that need to be talked about. Among other things, of course. Why are you upset, Norbeaster? Don't let me get you worked up, Norbeaster. Don't get all emotionally attached to it. But that's what I was going back to say about statement analysis. You always have something factual to base your ideas around. And you always know where you are in relation to what it is that you're trying to learn about a case. And it is always important because words tell us everything. There's no story. These individuals have no story, and they didn't want to offer one up from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Initially, it really doesn't matter, yeah, we know that you went places and you did things, but the story that goes along with all of that is so non-existent that it's suspect. Not whether or not you were at a place or not, you can verify things like this, but the story that goes along with your trip falls short. The fact that Daniel incorporates and Malaya incorporates things that happened over the course of maybe 2 days and opt out to not remember and forget in the moment at any one point in time. The officers had to dig deeper and try to jog your memory because you weren't forthcoming. You were just forthcoming enough to verify the places that you were through transactions and things that could be verified both through financial analysis, the financial, and as well as your electronic data on your phone. That doesn't tell you all the story, Daniel, and it doesn't even come close to telling all the story, and it doesn't come close to exonerating you of any culpability in the circumstance. Neither of you. The truth and reality about Jack and Lily's circumstance should be clear, and it's very clear to those of us who are watching it. You need to own up to what it is that you've done. It's your only course of action, because the lying and the bullshit is only going to add a lot of years to your fucking sentence. They could do this the easy way or the hard way. And they're doing it the hard way. The hard way means that they gave him the chance to give the officers, the RCMP, all of the information required to go get Jack and Lily. Who gives a good god darn at any one time what they're labeling the case? People want to know so bad if it's a criminal investigation, if there's foul play suspected, so that they can make their judgments and when it's really not really important in the first place. It's not important that it's called anything. We know what it is. Jack and Lily aren't around anymore. But people are trying to make a determination over where the officers are in their investigation based over what it's labeled. It's all blather and nonsense. It's all just fill. The RCMP have always been, and they've always had a reason to be suspicious of this asshole. But the problem is that they're all uncooperative, as you can see. So they have to go about doing this the hard way, which to us out here in TV land means time and patience. In the meantime, Daniel continues to build the case against himself. And really solidifying in investigators' minds that there's certain avenues worth pursuing. And all of those point to you, Daniel. If he wasn't responsible, this dumbass would have no problem throwing Malaya under the bus. But there's a lot more that goes along probably with this addiction of his, this little enterprise he has in producing mathematics and selling mathematics, and that would be stolen property. Break and enters is another thing that he brought up that nobody, really asked him about. He volunteered that information just to let you know that, yeah, he was on drugs, but he wasn't involved in any sort of break and entering schemes or anything like that. So don't even think about it. So you can pretty much bet that was on the table too. So I got no doubt that there's other people out there. Hold on. I've got no doubt that he's got, a few friends that are on the other side of the law that don't mind helping him out in this circumstance, doing him a solid. And by solid, I mean, solid by Daniel's desire and need in the moment. Daniel needs people to cover for him and help him. And he'll tell you whatever and promise you whatever. If you could only do this, help spread the word online. Here's what's really going on. Things are so far outside of reality. But listen, Daniel, the whole world knows you're guilty. And you're refusing to even acknowledge the questions surrounding what it is that you're presumably up there in front of the camera to answer. You're up there just to show everybody how you sidestep each and every question. What does that say about you, Daniel? Who the hell are you trying to fool? The people that you are trying to fool recognize every single thing that you do as a red flag and a further indication of deception. Oh, but Jesus Murphy, if you didn't pass that polygraph test, if there was a passing or failing of it, it's not a passing or failing. It's whether or not, you can accept the information after it's done. And that's kind of up in the air. It worked out in your favor. Worked out in your favor, Daniel, could mean that it was inconclusive. Love how he misconstrues the information in these senses. Fuck, you could throw that polygraph right out the window. It didn't matter. You look that guilty in front of a camera, son. It's written all over you. And it's rattling around in your head. Think about the things that you're bringing up to the CBC reporter. Who's accusing you of anything? By the way, you don't have to participate in all of that, Daniel. You don't have to participate in anything that people are talking about it anywhere at any point in time. But you continue to try to make this really all about yourself and your presumed innocence and how you want to convince people of your innocence. Why do you even have the need to be out here proving that you are innocent in this circumstance when Jack and Lily, one, are still missing and should be priority? But you're too busy updating people about closing the chapter and not being able to remember because there was no life-changing things that occurred that day. Who says that shit? Who believes it? If you have the need, like you say, runs with scissors, that he's worried about himself and looking innocent, well, if you have that need in the circumstance, you're guilty. An innocent person doesn't really have the need to look innocent in front of the camera at any one point in time. Norbeaster. Are you talking about Malaya? That she's very manipulative? It's going to be interesting to learn more about her. And we'll be learning more about her at some point. Not so sad, Explore Core. Oh, you guys. All right, guys, I'm going to tune out right now and go and figure out what the hell's going on with the economy. Made me sad out here. I'm okay. I'm going to go make some supper and tend to the family. Might be back on later tonight. Might be on tomorrow. Keep your eyes open. Hopefully Mike Demand comes back on. Maybe he's lost his confidence. I doubt it. He's probably just taking a healthy break. But hopefully he's coming on tonight because I want to see what he has to say about this. Yeah, $5,000 gold went up to? Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. People are bailing out of the economy. By $1,000. It went up to $1,000. It went up by 1,000 today. My God. Hard on risk assets, bro. Anyway, we'll get it sorted out, y'all. We'll see you later.
about the top,